Fantasy Rap
with Austin and Ozzy.
Oh, I just love those boys.
Hey everyone, this is Fantasy Rap, and I'm your host Ozzy.
And I'm your co-host Austin.
You can find us on fantasyrap.com. That is fantasywrap.com. Hey everybody, welcome to week 8 of the football and fantasy season. First off, we've got P's Picks. Hi everybody, we've got P here today to help us with P's Picks. And as you can see, we've got a picture of the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Buffalo Bills, and I'm going to set them in front of her.
All right,
Hi, P. You want the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, P.
Can you tell them what this is? Is this Peace Picks? Can you say it in here? Say Peace Picks.
Thanks, P.
Thank you. Say bye.
Bye.
And there you have it. P decided that we were going to have us talk about the Buffalo Bills as opposed to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Not a bad game.
No, unless you had Gabe Davis on your bench, or played against him, or had Diggs, who ended up having a decent enough game, but
decent.
Yeah.
Not Diggs-esque.
Yeah.
I mean, all three of the other the other three receivers that saw enough targets all had a touchdown, or did two of them?
Just the two. Because Allen ran on the third one in.
I'm trying to think. So who had the touchdowns? Oh, it was...
Yeah, Davis, Kincaid, Allen rushed one in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was missing one. I don't know. I thought there were three passing, but
No,
you're right.
yeah.
You're right. So looking at the stats, Allen was 31 of 40 for 324 yards, 2 TDs, an interception, which was a really bad throw. 7 rushes, 41 yards, and a touchdown. Played pretty well. I mean, I shouldn't say pretty well. I mean, he completed over 75% of his passes for a lot of yards. The interception was dumb.
Yeah, that's most of his interceptions. It feels like he's trying to go too far downfield, and by the time the ball gets there, there's 2 extra defenders there.
Well, and the funny thing is, he had just come out of the tent
Mm-hmm.
for his shoulder / whatever,
Yep.
and he gets back into the game and replaces Allen. And I don't even did someone hit him while he was throwing it?
I honestly I didn't see that the interception,
because it just kind of popped up in the air, and there were 5 linemen and 5 defensive players. Oh, I think it was tipped actually by Winfield.
Okay.
And one of the big defensive linemen was standing there, and what is this thing that's falling from the heavens? That looks like a football.
Did the Chris Godwin at the end of the game on that Hail Mary?
Yeah, kind of.
Although turned and they slow-moed it, you could see he found the ball and then just kind of went like that.
Yeah, the recognition was just a touch too late for him. Then we go to Cook, who had one target and 1 catch, 6 yards, 14 rushes, 67 yards. Not a great night.
Yeah.
In my mind, too few touches, but when you're throwing it 40 times and there are 21 rushes between he and Allen, you can't expect a whole lot more.
Yeah, you would hope. I mean, Cook, last week was had a really, really good game. But he was a little more involved in the passing game. That's why we got Khalil Shakir on the list here too. I mean, he went 6 of 6 for 92 yards.
Yeah, which was surprising.
Yeah, I mean, it just every time I looked up seemed like he was catching something kind of middle crossing.
Yeah, and it started early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right away that first drive. I think he had probably 2 catches on that first drive. So.
And I was surprised because Diggs was pretty much quiet through the first half or a little bit more, and then they started working him in. I don't know that there was frustration or, because he likes the ball.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a guy, he still had 12 targets, 9 catches for the 70 yards. But, you like to see, being a Diggs manager,
usually 9 catches for Diggs turns into 140.
Yep, and usually at least 1 touchdown.
Right.
So it would have been nice if, Tampa could actually have. I mean, they were still in the game, but they didn't really feel like they were in the game.
Right.
Oz and I were talking because I got Mike Evans as well, and he had 1 catch for 7 yards before he caught that touchdown, which deflected off the defender's helmet, I think. And so, I mean, and then he had a pretty big, it had to have been 30-plus yard catch and run negated by like the third holding on that drive for them. So he could have ended up with still
very
could have
nice
gotten that
line.
15 points, instead you're down in the 11 or 12, I think.
Right.
But yeah, but it was a Gabe Davis night too, pretty much right away. So
yeah. I was kind of surprised. I played against a team that had Davis last week, and I was like, something happened to him? I mean, he's not getting anything, because I didn't see that. I ended up watching it after the fact, but I just saw the stats coming up, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to get away with just about nothing.
Yep.
And all of a sudden this game, it's like, there's Gabe Davis.
Gabe
Davis.
It just, like I said, I was talking with some buddies last night, and he might be out of all of the vultures, in fantasy football, Gabe Davis might be the most frustrating one, because when he does go off, he can go huge and take away. I mean, again, like I said, Diggs ended up with 9 catches for 70 yards, but I think the last 2 of those catches were kind of, he had the one to convert the first down to extend, or burn more clock for the Bills and stuff. But Davis is, you get like 3 really bad games out of him, and then he'll just, he'll pop up for 21 fantasy points this week. It's
no thanks.
Yeah, it'd be really frustrating as a manager, but that too, like you said, if you're playing against him, or in my case, you got Diggs, he's so frustrating no matter what.
That offense, they've got so many different ways they can score that unless you have Josh Allen, I'm afraid of playing anyone else on that team for the most part. Not so much in PPR, but in standard scoring. I mean, the 9 catches for both of them, that's great for PPR, but 70 yards is 7 points. Yeah. And that's out of your number one receiver.
Yep.
Not enough points.
No.
So, but Davis did finish up 9 to 12 for 87 yards and a touchdown. And then Kincaid was 5 of 7 for 65 yards and a touchdown. And the touchdown was really a nice little play where after Allen had run that first touchdown in, he came around the side and he made the linebacker think that he might run. And the linebacker came up on him, and he just kind of threw it right by him, and Kincaid was pretty much wide open and just took it in from 22 out for the score. And, of course, I had to pick him back. I picked him back up. Luckily, no one took him in front of me because I had Ertz, and Ertz got injured and is going to be out for the foreseeable future. Yep. And everyone was like, well, we better go out and get Trey McBride. And I thought, no, I'll take Kincaid since Knox is also out. And
which
right away it paid off.
Yeah, if Kincaid keeps doing this, they need to. Knox needs to just, whenever he comes back, I don't know if he's coming back this year, if he's planning on. I don't know how severe the wrist surgery was, but even if he comes back, I mean, this is what they drafted Kincaid for. But
they drafted him for being a big receiver.
True.
They didn't draft him for blocking as a tight end.
True, but the amount of times that Dawson Knox is in there and getting targets when it should be a Kincaid situation.
Agreed.
Just a little, head scratch, kind of like, why Why is Dawson? I mean, I know that him and Allen have a connection, but you
Yep.
saw after, much to my frustration, I was playing against Kincaid last night and Rashad White, but Allen immediately ran over and, everybody's high-fiving and everything, and Allen made sure to grab the ball.
Right.
So they're...
Classy.
Yep, so...
As Kincaid was up doing the Lambeau leap in
Buffalo, yeah.
So let's move on to our picks of the week. At quarterback, the top 6 ranked are Mahomes, Herbert, Jackson, Hurts.
Tua?
No, I was going to say it.
Oh.
Tagovailoa, and Goff. So I'm going with, actually, you think about it, and the Packers defense lost another 2 players from the defensive side in the form of Savage and Stokes. Stoke is back. So, both of them are on IR. And Jair hasn't really played much in the last while.
Yeah.
So a normally horrible run defense, I think, also turns into a horrible pass defense.
Yeah.
And I went with Cousins versus Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, well, first of all, I don't think that the Packers will win.
Yeah,
you can hope and wish and
Yeah.
everything else. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think the Vikings are like, it's like -1.5 or something like that. Like that's
because it's in Green Bay.
Well, yeah, that's why. But yeah, it's like
and supposedly Aaron Jones is back.
Yeah, which he was I think was it today or yesterday was a DNP because he was sore yet from the hamstring so we'll see. I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be very telling. All of a sudden, we're talking about the potential of Kirk Cousins getting traded. All of a sudden, they're in the running for the for the NFC North. I mean, granted, obviously, Detroit's still a little bit ahead, but I mean, Minnesota wins, on Sunday, and they're sitting in second place, and they're
right.
They're within striking distance.
Yeah, and
Detroit,
it's. I mean, you're talking 8 weeks in.
Mm-hmm.
What are they? Are they 2-5 or are they 2-4?
I think all of us at the bottom are actually no. Are they 2 or are they 3?
No, they won, didn't they?
They beat San Fran.
That's right. So they're 3-4 or whatever.
Yep.
So I mean, they're already in a much better place than the Packers would be. And all I keep on reading is, this guy. If the Packers trade for this guy, he could be the difference maker. There is no difference maker out there right now. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, maybe, but he's not being traded.
Yeah.
So anyone that's on the trade market, there's no one that makes the Packers good enough to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily want them to make the playoffs. I mean, and it happens all the time. You get fan bases who say, let's lose out so that we get the best draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to tank for Tua, but if you're not going to make it, well, then you might as well get the best picks you can.
Yep.
Maybe trade off a couple of our own players so that we can get even more picks. You've got then enough money to extend, drawing a blank, 52. You're drawing a blank too.
Yeah.
Defensive end.
Rashawn Gary.
There
we go. Yep.
He needs a new contract.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start doing. He's still young.
Oh yeah.
Let's get a nucleus of 15 young guys and start building. And I think there are several teams that
isn't Green Bay like the youngest team in the league right now. Even with a couple older players.
Preston Smith and Kenny Clark and
Bakhtiari.
Bakhtiari. I mean, personally, I could see us. Even Aaron Jones. I mean, I could see him trading Aaron Jones. Bakhtiari, I don't think can be traded as long as he's injured.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people were hoping that they could possibly trade Darnell Savage, but then he went and got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And you could trade Preston Smith. Some pass rush needy team might give something back for him.
Yeah.
You know, and it's true of all the teams out there. You know, there are half the teams could probably do themselves some justice by trading players, but everyone thinks that they're in the mix for it. I mean, it's like the Packers last year. Instead of seeing what they had in Jordan Love, we continued to play Rodgers in the hopes that some miracle would bring us to the promised land. Well, it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't.
Almost.
Well, no. We almost made the playoffs.
Yeah.
We were not
that's
going.
That was at that point. That was the promised land.
That's not the promised land.
That's what it was. Once you got there, then it was okay. People
Yeah.
just wanted to make playoffs.
Yeah, and you know, I'm more of a realist, mainly because I've been watching the Packers since about 1967. So not really watching. I mean, I sat on my dad's lap and watched, but you know, from when I was little all the way through the 70s and the 80s, when times were tough, when we had some horrible coaches, some horrible teams, I would rather see us not do well this year and rebuild.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a rebuild. It's a whatever. Rebuild.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my interpretation of
Yep.
where we are. So I think Cousins will kill us. Long story short.
Historically, he hasn't done that great against Green
No.
Bay, but again, too, I mean, that's, you know, Jair at the top of his game, you know, Stokes and everybody else, you had a, pretty healthy defense, and,
we have no Devondre Campbell. We've got, there are so many missing
one
pieces.
One of the older guys, too, on the team that,
right.
should probably be moved.
Maybe. But then you're talking about Rasul Douglas, too, and you're talking about...
So
I just think that we had a chance, or he has a chance to make us look bad.
Especially with Addison looking as good as he did against San Francisco last week.
Right.
You know, KJ Osborne, he played good, and I mean Hawkinson, if he's healthy this week, so yeah, definitely a good spot. I'm going with of course, obviously, the top guys have good matchups, like, Lamar against Arizona. But I'm going to go with C.J. Stroud coming off the bye versus Carolina. Carolina's run defense is actually really bad this year, and the last couple years they've been one of the top run defenses. So, I wonder if the coaching change there flipped that. They're kind of middle of the pack against the pass, so... Stroud's got Tank Dell coming back. Robert Woods is questionable, and he's been seeing quite a few targets. Dalton Schultz, I think I can't remember if he's fully healthy or if he was questionable too.
I don't remember.
But yeah, getting Tank Dell back, I think he'll be looking for him, because Tank's he's a smaller guy, so he's definitely more of a possession receiver.
Name the little guy Tank.
Well, yeah. yeah. So,
it's like the big fat guy calling Slim.
Yeah. So, and Stroud's been very accurate, been pretty good for his, probably the best quarterback out of all the rookies.
Right. And it's number 1 versus number 3?
Three sounds right for
quarterback.
Because 3 quarterback. I thought you were just saying overall pick, because I thought they went.
Was he the second quarterback taken?
I think he was. Yes. So I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I don't remember back to there, but yeah, you're putting the top 2 or 2 of the top young quarterbacks, well, rookies, against each other, and it's. I've got C.J. Stroud on my dynasty team, and I'll be playing him this week. Thanks to you taking JSN in front of me. Hey, I can't complain because in a 2 quarterback league, it's in the super flex, so I like it. Running backs, we've got Eckler, McCaffrey. Again, Pacheco's up there.
It's just the matchup in Denver.
But he didn't do anything last week.
I know. That's just what it's been. It's just been matchup based.
ETN, Pollard, and Breece Hall. And I am going to go Gibbs. I am going Jahmyr Gibbs. And I don't think Las Vegas has figured out anything about how to play football this year.
Nope.
So, and I feel sorry for you, Devontae, because you certainly didn't see this coming. You didn't know that Carr was going to leave. You didn't know that Las Vegas was going to turn into a dumpster fire like they did. But Gibbs against that defense, I can't see them being down by much, as in Detroit.
Yeah, are they at home? Do you know against?
I believe so.
Raiders?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean that's one where Goff could go pretty big because he plays really well at home. If you're gonna stream Goff, that's when you stream them is when they're playing in Detroit. And yeah, against the Raiders, Montgomery out again this week, like had been expected. And Craig Reynolds didn't do anything last week to push for, put any pressure on Jahmyr Gibbs. So
Right.
it's going to be another healthy serving of all you can carry buffet
Yeah.
for
yeah.
Gibbs. And, maybe get, probably quite a few checkdowns, screens and stuff, get him involved in what he's really, really good at.
Right. And if they're up 12, 15 points, they're just going to probably sit there handing it to Gibbs over and over and over.
Yeah.
Run the clock. He'll eat up yardage.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if he goes over 100 total and maybe probably a touchdown.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised he's not on the list. Well, I guess this is off of your standard scoring.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if
If this were
easy for
not
me.
right, if this were PPR, it would be completely different.
So I'm going with Alvin Kamara against Indianapolis. When I looked on Yahoo through my PPR league, he was the number 2 ranked.
Oh, yeah,
So-
yeah. Well, when you're catching 10,
Yeah.
12 a week.
Yeah, getting 15 targets every week. So, yeah. Again, Indy, if you're going to beat them, it's on the ground. They let up really good games last week for Jerome Ford before the injury, and then Kareem Hunt had 2 rushing touchdowns. He had a decent stat line. This is a perfect matchup for Kamara. Get a healthy amount of actual carries, and then check down artist. What he's been, which is so weird because granted he had Devontae, but you got a guy who's probably faster than Devontae and Chris Olave. Pun unintended, because he got arrested for speeding.
Yeah. Twice as fast as he should have been.
Yeah, 70 and like a 35.
Yeah. But it's not as fast as Addison was going.
Yeah. Have you seen the video of Olave getting arrested?
No.
Oh, he's like, they're putting the cuffs on him. He's like, I play for the Saints. And the cop just goes, and?
That gives you a bye.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Derek Carr loves throwing it to Alvin Kamara. I would too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I can't, besides like Eckler in his prime season or even McCaffrey, I can't, me personally, I off the top of my head can't think of any running back that's been getting the amount of targets that Kamara has since he's gotten back from the suspension.
Right. And it's funny because this is more, we're seeing more vintage Kamara.
Oh yeah, he looks really good.
4 or 5 years ago, he was getting this type of work.
Mm-hmm.
And we wondered the last couple of years, what happened to Alvin Kamara?
Yeah, last year I had traded for him in the hopes that he'd, break out, and he wasn't getting utilized that much. They just weren't really using him, which was weird.
Not the greatest quarterback situation.
True. Yes, true. So yeah, you go from Drew Brees to what was it last year, Jameis Winston, for a little bit, and then now Derek Carr. So yeah, but I think
Carr has the opportunity, the potential to open up the field because he can throw the ball down the field.
I don't know. I think if they come out, I think Kamara will still have a good game, but if they come out and get beat, by touchdown or 2 to Indy and Gardner Minshew, really Gardner had a good game, but these are 2 mid quarterbacks right now. So and the better matchup is the Indy side, the Saints for Indy versus Gardner playing against that Saints defense. So I think at some point you kind of go, when do you just put Jameis in there again?
Well,
I know it's like it's
you just spent how much money on Carr?
I know, but he just does not. Granted, he had the shoulder and everything, but he just does not look good at all.
Right. So moving on to our wide receivers, we've got Tyreek, we've got A.J. Brown, we've got Allen, Keenan Allen, Cooper Kupp. Amon-Ra St. Brown, not his brother.
Equinemius.
And DJ Moore. I am going to go Jamar Chase at San Francisco. Taking a chance. San Francisco's defense has looked beatable. Obviously, they've been beaten the last 2 weeks. And Jamar Chase has been really the only thing that looks good on that team.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago now, he had that 19 targets or 17 targets, a bunch of yardage.
Right.
He got T. Higgins back to take a little pressure off of Chase, for the defense. Burrow getting a week off to rest and get that calf healthy, which I'm excited for. So I'm a Burrow owner. I mean, you can't go wrong with Jamar Chase, especially as that team's getting healthier and getting farther into the season. So, and
that's what I'm thinking. I mean, having Higgins take some of that pressure off is huge. And Jamar Chase is making some plays that, are unbelievable. So
yeah, he's really good. Yeah. I'm going to go, I guess I wouldn't say deep dive, but a little farther down the list here. I'm going to go Zay Flowers against Arizona. Like I said, great matchup for Baltimore.
What about Nelson Aguilar stealing those touchdowns?
Yeah, he does that every now and then, But
he's had back-to-back decent weeks.
Yeah,
Aguilar.
yeah. So, I think Flowers. I mean, he's just their best receiver right now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Bateman has been back. OBJ was involved last week, but I mean, they got to get Flowers. I mean, they got to get him down the field too.
Right.
That's been
it can't all be Andrews and checkdowns and Lamar running and.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the Andrews catches because he's
so will I.
But yeah, I just think good matchup. I mean, the only thing with Baltimore is you hope that Arizona can stay somewhat close to force them to have to continue to maintain or push their lead, and it doesn't end up being 21-0 at half or something like that, or or God forbid Baltimore does what they did last week to Detroit.
Right.
You just hope that Flowers is involved in that. So.
Right.
So I think just matchup based. For me, he looked pretty good on that list.
Gotcha. We move to our tight ends, and we've got Kelsey, Andrews, which we both like, Laporta, who did not perform well last week, Goddard, Kittle, and Taysom Hill. So I decided, and how I love doing this, that I stacked with my quarterback, and I'm going Hawkinson. Again, I mean, I've watched Keyshawn Nixon play the slot, and depending upon who's picking up Hawkinson, I mean, he's such a big target. He runs well, and he's got great hands.
Yeah.
And I just don't see the Packers having any personnel to try and stop him.
No, well, what do you mean? They've got one of the best cover defensive ends in Preston Smith. I mean, they put him against Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Should be no problem.
Right. I mean, he had him too.
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking that might be a big output.
Yeah, I mean, and again, the matchup, this is the week he hasn't had a blow-up week since Jefferson went down, and like I said, I thought him and Addison were going to be the main
targets,
beneficiaries of those vacated targets. Now that Jefferson's been out, it just hasn't really. I mean, Addison obviously had the blow-up week last week, but I think I like it. I think Hawkinson should have a really, really good week
as long as he's healthy.
Well, that too, yes,
obviously.
Yeah, So it feels kind of gross, but I think this is going to be this. I know I say it a lot. This is either going to be 10-7 or it's going to be both teams in the upper 20s for the matchup. And
maybe
it's Kyle Pitts versus Tennessee. Kind of middle of the pack, middle of the pack matchup for tight ends.
It's interesting that you chose Stroud, Kamara, and Pitts all from my my dynasty team.
Better hope I'm right.
Yeah, especially since I'm playing against the other 6-1 team.
Yeah. Better hope I'm right. Pitts had a little bit, had a more down week, kind of the typical Kyle Pitts we've come to see, over the last season and a half.
Yeah, it's amazing that you can throw as many balls his way one week and you just kind of forget about him the next.
Yeah, I mean, his snap, the thing too is his snap counts have gone down over the last 3 weeks. And Kyle Pitts is running like receiver routes, and because he's basically just a giant wide receiver. Right. And they've had Jonnu Smith running the actual tight end routes, and that's why Jonnu Smith has been fine as a tight end if you needed him. But I just, like I said, this matchup's either going to be, I think it's going to be. Actually, it'll probably be Atlanta winning by at least a touchdown, because I totally forgot that Tannehill's out, and that means that sounds like Will Levis is going to get the start initially, and then who knows how that goes. This might see Malik Willis.
This might be a bullpen game.
Yeah, that or they're just going to run Wildcat with Derrick Henry. I mean, he's thrown touchdowns. So he knows what to do. Yeah, I'd be okay with that too.
Yeah, I want to say, didn't I was thinking about our last podcast, and we were going through and we were counting stats and everything. Didn't Addison throw a ball last week, or was that?
Yeah, I think he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we forgot to put it in there because I think Addison was a stud this past week, and we forgot to put his passing yardage. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I wish Pitts. And we've talked about this. I mean, Pitts actually needs to just go to a better situation.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're not going to trade him right now.
No.
Although, what they could get for him is, it's one of those. What is he? A third or fourth year player?
This would be his third.
Third year?
Yeah, I believe so.
So he's got one more, and then they can extend him through the fifth year because he was a first round pick. I think he went eighth or something.
Eight sounds right.
So they might have him for 2 more years. They're not going to... In fact, I don't even see them signing him to the 5th year.
Probably not.
Because the stats are not commensurate with what he would get paid.
Yeah. Well, if he just takes his rookie year.
But what I'm saying is they're not utilizing him.
Touchdowns, but yeah.
They're not utilizing.
It's been, quarterback play... Mariota and then Desmond Ridder, who's looked better, over the last couple of weeks. And Tennessee's rush defense is still pretty good. So, again, it's just a matchup where if you're going to come out and beat them, it's going to be through the air. Yeah. And you just kind of, like I said, you're just hoping Pitts gets a couple long receptions and maybe one goes into the end zone.
Yeah. Agreed. So, we go to our love 'em, flip 'em, leave 'em. And I thought I'd have a little fun. I'm throwing some names out that at the beginning of the year, this would have been...
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, it would have been difficult because 2 of the players... So I've got Garrett Wilson, who currently has 51 points. I've got CeeDee Lamb, who currently has 56 points. That would have been your choices between love 'em and flip 'em.
Yep.
And the last one is Adam Thielen, who has 78 points. All of them in one of the formats that are the services that I use to determine values, all have them relatively close, although Thielen is higher than all 3 of or the other 2. But you think about Garrett Wilson and what his potential was before the season, before Rodgers got hurt.
Yeah.
And that was pretty astronomical.
Yeah, he was going early, basically anywhere in the second round.
Yeah.
And, guys were taking their shots on him, if they were going wide receiver heavy, right? 0 RB. It was usually Diggs or whoever, and then especially if you're at the end of of a snake draft and you go Diggs and then 4 picks later you go Garrett Wilson, you're sitting...
Right.
You're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Holy, this could be
gigantic. And the same thing with CeeDee Lamb. You thought that Derek Carr to CeeDee Lamb was going to be a huge thing this year.
Prescott.
I mean, yeah. Who did I say?
Derek Carr.
I'm thinking Dak Prescott, and I don't even know. I mean, I seriously was sitting there visualizing Dak.
Yep.
That's probably why. Derek.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. Dak to CeeDee Lamb, and I mean I've got Lamb in our Dynasty League,
yeah,
and I always love, I always figure he'll have great years, but this hasn't been one of them.
I think that's, to me, for the Cowboys, it's a McCarthy. I mean, as Packer fans, we know what it is. They were, last year, they were the number one team in tempo, or I think it was like tempo or just how fast they were playing again and running plays. Now they are last.
Yep.
And again, like I said, it's a McCarthy thing. He likes to just, if they get a lead, he just sits on it and will not change.
Right. If you're up by 7 or 8, you run the prevent offense, which prevents you from getting a first down, and the prevent defense, which prevents you from stopping them from scoring, and somehow you lose your games.
Yeah.
So looking at these, I'm going to love Thielen. He has gotten obviously more targets than Wilson is probably the fewest number of targets out of these guys. Thielen seems to get 11, 12 targets every week, and he turns it into points.
Yeah, the only thing with Thielen is that they're changing. The head coach came out, and I think they're changing play callers. Back to the actual OC. There's a couple teams that have been doing that.
Yeah.
The only thing with Thielen is if they change up the offense a little bit and go a little more run heavy, because Chuba looks good and Sanders has been banged up, but he'll be, coming back. I think he's back this week, or he might play this week. So, about the only thing is just a complete. I don't think you would completely change your offense, but you tweak it enough to where Thielen goes from his 12 targets and he gets 6. So then you're looking at 6 for 50, 6 for 45.
And half a touchdown.
Yeah, half a touchdown on average. Yeah. So
no, I meant each game half touchdown, because he's pretty. The guy's scoring in a standard format. Mm-hmm. He's over 12 points a week average.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good for a guy who,
he was done.
I don't think there was really anybody, like, even in drafts, he was either like last pick or undrafted even.
He was my third or fourth receiver that I took.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah,
ends up it's just one of those. He's at 78 points so far, so he's 22 plus over the other two. So in my mind, I keep him. I try and trade CeeDee Lamb, and I leave Garrett Wilson.
Yeah,
Wilson has
tough with the other two because of the pure athletic talent of CeeDee,
the potential upside.
Yes, Garrett obviously, if Rodgers was still there, Garrett Wilson would be.
Yeah, he'd probably be the lover.
Yeah. So, but
I agree. But and when you get down to those two, if you're flipping one and leaving the other, you have to think about who's going to take Garrett Wilson and the offense that he's in versus CeeDee Lamb, name recognition.
You're going to get of, depending on your format, picks or players, or both, picking a player or something like that,
right.
So, I agree. I guess I would probably flip Thielen just on the chance that they do tweak the offense and he comes back down to kind of what was expected.
I hope not.
Yes, I hope not either, because it is cool seeing Adam Thielen not in Minnesota, still being
Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
He looks great.
Mm-hmm.
He's finding the open spot. He's the number one look most of the time. The quarterback. It's always nice when your quarterback trusts you.
Yeah.
You throw the ball to him and he's making the catch.
Mm-hmm.
So,
he's also kind of in that situation where he's pretty much the only target.
Yep.
Besides Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard.
Right.
Because I don't even know who their tight ends are. They still have Ian Thomas, Tommy Tremble, or something like that. And then they got Jonathan Mingo, who is a rookie, but he hasn't done. He's had a couple. DJ Chark hasn't done anything either. It's been.
Wait, don't they have that DJ? No.
Yeah.
They traded.
You mean that number one receiver that they were trying to trade for?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'd be the other way. I would keep CeeDee Lamb because Dallas is coming into a pretty nice stretch of matchups, and Dak had a good week last week, and it's just that just the talent. I mean, I think he's well above Adam Thielen in that regard. But yeah, so like I said, I'm just a little nervous to see what Carolina is going to do coming up with the offense, and then
we'll revisit this one in a month or so.
No, that's fine.
We should do that every once in a while. Revisit and take a look at who we chose and go back. Because I remember we've been talking about flipping Devontae for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I would still try and flip him if he
yeah.
were on this list.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point his value is going to go away.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Which is why
wait too long.
Right. Which is why I chose 3 guys that are kind of all around the same,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to going just ridiculous, obvious things.
Yeah.
This makes you think a little bit. Who would you actually want and for what reasons?
Yeah. Well, that too. I mean, it's so hard to pull the trigger on like CeeDee Lamb. Just name value alone. You throw a trade out to somebody to receive a bunch of players, or or a 1-for-1 receiver, running back, or something like that. It's so hard because you go, damn, what if he blows up the second half of the season?
But you start your offer high enough, so you go CeeDee Lamb for Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not terrible.
Eckler isn't doing great.
Yeah.
Or for Josh Jacobs, although I don't want Josh Jacobs right now.
Well, yeah. I threw out your pick of the week at receiver there. I threw out a trade to try and get him with Derrick Henry and Mike Evans.
Wow.
So going real heavy, but then the news circulating of Henry potentially sounds like Titans are just I've seen it everywhere that they're just anybody is available for trade.
Yeah, but he goes to the right situation, and it's good for him too.
Like I said, that's what I mentioned before. Hearing that Ravens are kind of the top contender. I saw something today that the Falcons for some reason, but that makes. I mean, it's Arthur Smith. He's just going to hoard all of the good running backs
and tight ends.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
And never utilize it properly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. What the NFL finds out for Atlanta with all that stuff with Bijan.
Yeah,
because they're supposedly investigating what happened. So,
I don't know. It's going to be like Major League Baseball, where a guy hits a player, you give him a 2-game suspension, but then you make it for next year.
Yeah, probably.
Don't quite understand it, but
nope, that's baseball.
So that's all we've got for this week. Hope you enjoy the podcast or the YouTube video cast. Otherwise, I'm Ozzy.
And I'm Austin.
Have a great week.
See ya.